up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Tonight is special. We got one of my favorite soul sisters pulling up for her debut Fireside Chat. The one, the only Anna Marie Castro will be in the building soon. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off real soon, y'all. Shout out to everybody in the line. We see you. Mama's in the house. What up, AMC? Let's see, we'll send that request again. Let's see here. There we go.
Let's see what's going on
here. That looks like a velvet chair. What's up?
Oh my gosh, you got a nice view of my my globe.
I love that. I like the aura that's going on right there.
I know. I'm actually Fireside, so I had to stick with the theme.
I love that. You know, the crazy thing, there's like a fireplace right over here. I just never, we never upgraded the setup. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta work on that, Ren.
I know. How's the weather?
You know what? Today was a little bit gloomy, but it's been hot. All last week was so hot.
Yeah.
But today was a nice fall day. Put on a nice little fall movie.
Yeah. We got the heat on. We're wearing raincoats. Haven't seen the sun in like a month or two. You know.
I know, dude. I need to go to Seattle for real. I would love to be out there.
You got to come and do a show.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
For sure.
I see we got 12 on the line. If you're ready, I'll go ahead and kick things off.
What's up? What's up? Yeah.
All right. I want to welcome everybody to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews. However, we take the time to do the research. We want to make sure that we're supporting and strengthening what's already out there, not duplicating efforts. Now, for tonight's guest, y'all, I'm so excited. This is a long time in the making, as I like to say, but it was 2020. That was the year that I really kind of found my way into the indie soul scene. And one of the most popular labels at the time was Mango Hill Records. And we would tune into live streams when Jason Joshua would be flashing new 45s and everything like that. One of the records that he previewed was by a group called Barrio Joyride. And featured on that cut was a young lady that I heard the name for the first time, Anna Marie Castro. And I was so moved by what I heard in the short snippet. See, y'all remember I said this with Kelly Finnegan. It's not so much what's being said, but how it's being said. And when I think of indie music, drilling down even further, indie soul, this young lady right here, her voice, her pen separates her from others on the scene. I've been so captivated and moved by her voice. I had the opportunity to meet her in person at the Mad Lad show in California, got to see her perform on stage, and I've been following Anna Marie Castro ever since, simply because I've seen her pop up with different bands, which we're going to talk about tonight. But I've been wanting a lot more because I think Anna Marie Castro is truly a superstar in the making. Her voice is so unique. The pen is heavy. Every now and then she fiddles with a ukulele and guitar. But it means so much to me to have Anna join me tonight for a fireside chat. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one, the only Miss Anna Marie Castro.
Thank you so much for having me
here with us. I kind of know a little bit about you, but I would love it if you could start by telling us who you are, where you're from, and describe the music that you make.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Anna Marie Castro. I'm a singer-songwriter from East Los Angeles, California.
East Los?
Yeah, East Los. And I make modern soul music, among other things, but my main thing is the modern soul right now.
Okay. Now, there's a lot of, I would say, different types of soul out there. Give us a little lens further. Talk to us perhaps about maybe Chicano soul. Is there a certain like subgenre that maybe moves you more than others? I want to make sure that people understand your sound and they know what you're talking about when it comes to the groove and the instrumentation.
Yeah, so when we look at songs like Cool It, that's Chicano soul. Yeah. That's like the roots of what we were growing up with in East LA.
You Tri-Colored bad boy right
here?
Yeah,
dude, you got that variant. I wish I had it. I didn't even get it. It sold out.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so from that aspect of it, sure, some of it is Chicano soul and some of it is just, our version of soul, you know, after everything we've listened to all the years. And it just happens to sound Chicano because we are Chicano.
I love that you said our version, because I believe that you know, we often look to the past for reference points, but even you know, moving forward, I always say that the artists that are really doing it, they're building on the strength of what was done in the past, but putting their own flavor as they kind of blaze trails moving forward. So that's really awesome. Thank you for that. You know, one of the things that I think about often is kind of like the music that I listened to growing up. And while I gravitated towards hip hop, it was really like the soulful samples. And I always remember the moments when I would be up in my mother's bedroom, listening to the radio. And for whatever reason, I found it was the soul music that I would really listen to, and I would record those tapes. So I say all that to say this. What kind of musical influences did you grow up around, and are there any moments that you really remember when you were introduced to maybe an artist, a song, or a genre that stand out?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So initially, as a small child, we were always listening to KRF 101. So early 90s KRF Motown
Okay.
is like where it all began. But I think when it came down to singing and knowing like this is what I want to do was when the Fugees dropped darn it. You know this song.
Is
Killing
it
Me
like the
Softly,
debut
right?
album?
Yeah, yeah, Killing Me Softly
Yeah.
dropped, I think, what was
Oh,
it, 1997? I was
hey,
this little kid.
let's
I
not date
heard that
ourselves.
song.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and it just blew my mind. And I just remember from that point on, all I did was sing.
Really?
I had always been singing. My dad says I was singing like as a toddler. You know, I couldn't speak yet, but I
Okay.
was singing. But it was that moment in my life where I heard that song and I was obsessed.
Really?
And I was just singing it all the time and I sounded terrible. Um, but that didn't stop me, and singing was something I could do anywhere, any place, you know. So
Okay.
1997, Killing Me Softly with the Fugees.
97, it was a good year.
Yeah.
So a couple follow-up questions off that. What kind of music did your parents listen to? Was music something that was played in the car, the house?
Yeah, for sure. From my dad's side, it was like the Beatles, War, El Chicano,
Okay.
Tierra.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My mom was listening to, you know, all the 80s like pop music, um, super electronic stuff. I can't even remember the bands or whatnot. But I more gravitated to my dad's taste in music.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the Beatles were
Now,
big,
after
and
you
him.
find this cut by the Fugees and you're obsessed, where did you go from there? What was like the next like stepping stone for you in terms of this is something that inspires me, I'm influenced by this, where do I get more of it essentially?
I mean, at that time, I was just a kid. I was probably about 7 years old. But yeah, I mean, from there, I was asking the teachers, you know, hey, can we perform this song at this, you know, whatever, you know, schools always have their little performances. I was like, well, can we do something special?
Mm-hmm.
And we sang Amazing Grace. It was me and a few other girls who like to sing. We're like 8 or 9 years old, and I think that's when performing started for me.
Okay, okay. Because I
Yeah.
was just gonna. The next question is essentially, what do you remember about that first time that you really started to create music? And I was kind of kicking myself because how did you essentially like find that style with your voice? When did that come into
Mm-hmm.
play?
The style that character that I bring, that didn't really start to come together until I was at least 17, 18, 19.
Okay.
I started writing acoustic music by myself. I was writing with friends as a teenager, but by about 17, 18, that's when I picked up the guitar myself. My Nino had gave me a guitar and you know, fiddle around with it, write a couple of songs. By the time I was 19, I was doing acoustic shows just by myself, trying to get my music out there. I would do folk music, so that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that music, that character in my voice started there. It was, I, I even thought it was like really special. Like, wow, that's me. Um, so yeah, and you can still hear that energy in my vocals now,
Oh,
for
for
sure.
sure. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when Aaron Frazier was like talking about when he kind of discovered his voice. I think he was like sitting in the car with his mom and it just came out. Is that what happened to you? And you were like, oh, shoot, what was that? Like, do it again.
You know, I used to always sing falsetto. That was my thing. When I was, I think maybe 12, and I transferred to a new school here in East LA, Griffith Middle School. And they asked me what my interests were, and I said music, and they had choir. So I'd never been introduced to music before then in a school setting. They threw me in the choir, and I started singing falsetto and started working on that voice for many, many, many years. And that was like a very big thing for me. I was in chamber choirs all throughout high school and college. And then, yeah, I mean, now, what was I going to say? There was a point when I realized I wanted to do other things with my voice. We were at my aunt's house. She loves playing music in the background, but live shows. And I saw Heart on the TV for the first time. And they covered, I think it was Whole Lotta Love. And it was just the most incredible thing I had ever seen. This woman was singing like so deep and so loud and raspy. It was this incredible voice. And I was like, I think I could do that. I want to do that. And it turns out I can. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. So you kind of started to talk about this a little bit, but one of the things that I really wanted to focus on was kind of your journey as an indie soul artist, kind of coming out of East Los. I want to understand things that went well, some of the challenges, but also how that might have influenced your evolution as a musician.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot. I feel like I kind of started in a little indie scene where I was singing acoustic sets, by myself, and it was very quiet, and I wanted to be louder. So then I started Anna Marie in the 5150s, and it turned into this whole thing where it was this persona that I really enjoyed playing with, and it was kind of like an alter ego. I was
Yeah.
very honest when I wrote in that band. More honest than, face to face when it comes to like, getting to know me.
Right.
Just listen to my music. You can definitely get to know me there. But yeah, and it's evolved so much since then. So
Okay.
started off in that scene and the indie scene, moved to the reggae rock steady scene.
Right.
And then now through there, I started getting hired to sing backup vocals and, hired to record, music like with Noriega. We put out the 45. I started getting hired in this scene and doing things and meeting people, and now I'm in the soul scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good cap there. So let's talk about the 5150s because I feel like for me that might be something that I'm not super familiar with. As I mentioned, it was kind of like cool it is when I'm like, whoa, who's this kind of
Mhm.
thing. So
Yeah,
talk about that, and I really want to understand how you. I'm guessing you probably link with Joey Quiones
yeah,
before Mango Hill.
yeah.
Talk to us about how all of that kind of comes together there because I felt like around the pandemic that was a time when many musicians were having to become more creative with things and we were all online and so connections were flowing, but I want to know about life before and how that all came together.
Yeah. I would say the pandemic was definitely like the very end of the 5150s. It
Okay.
just we
Okay.
were apart for so long. It was hard to get back together when things started going back. But way before then, I mean, I've known Joey since we were in middle school.
Oh,
We
wow.
started working together right after high school. Um, we were in the same scene, we're all the same parties for many, many years. So we know all the same people.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's been been a very long time too. Just kind of navigating through the scene and everything that being a musician comes with.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Tell us
I have space for
something about Joey that we might not that not everybody would know, but back then in terms of his passion for music, because I've heard lots of stories over the course of doing many, many interviews, but I always think it's kind of cool to get like a lens into who he was before we recognized him as, say, the face of coal mine or indie soul, if you will. So
Yeah.
share something with us about, your early connections with Joey, perhaps when you were working together. Maybe there's something that you learned or some sort of milestone moment musically.
Yeah. With Joey, it was always work ethic. That was the most admirable thing about him. When it came to music, he was very hardworking and was willing to be broke and do what you got to do and focus on the music, which is something that we were different in because I had to pay the rent and I couldn't really put myself towards the music as he did. But thankfully he did, and he's the homie, and he loves helping people out, and he, if he can kick a door open for us, he will. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we've worked together, we've sang together. He was just a trombone player when we met, and the evolution of that with what was it, Upground, Deliriums, Steady 45s to the Sinceres. I'm like, I'm like, yeah. And I've known him throughout the entire time, and to watch him grow is just such an amazing thing. And every once in a while, I'm like, dude, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And it feels like now he's messaging me like, dude, I'm so proud of you. Like, and I'm just like, dude, I know, because we all know like how hard it's been all of these years, and not being able to apply myself means that it's been a little bit harder. It's been a longer journey for me.
Right.
But nevertheless, I've never quit, and I think that's something I've maybe taken away from knowing Joey is to keep pursuing it. As much as I can, put myself out there as much as I can,
Mm-hmm.
and keep working. Yeah, work hard, play hard.
I love that. Something that I often say to people is, your why is what always guides you. No matter how many times you break down, you get lost, and I always say, don't look down. Just kind of keep going forward, because when you look down, just that single break in thought is sometimes enough to have you spiral away from what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So I'm glad that you stuck with it, and I think everyone else who loves the music that you make feels the same way there. Now I kind of want to dig into, I might be batting a little below my belt here, but if I recall correctly, Barrio Joyride, pretty much instrumental stuff. So how do you get tapped for the feature to lace the vocals? I imagine this is also the time that you probably get introduced to Jason Joshua for the first time. Can you kind of talk about that recording session and kind of like, because this is probably one of your first times where where there's actually a record being pressed. So
Yeah.
to have a physical product in reality, I know for many musicians is a milestone moment. But just take us back to what was going on there, and then the reception, of course, after the record's released.
Yeah. Initially we had so Joey had this album, Barrio Joyride. It came out in 2017. Now this album had a song on it that I did record lyrics for, but ultimately we ended up taking them off. So he did a second album for Barrio Joyride, and this time he wrote the instrumental for Cool It. And it was kind of like paying tribute to that song that we had done originally. So he asked me if I wanted to write to it. So one day I'm like, okay, cool. I came out to, what is it, for Francisco Studios. We were in the Steady 45's room, and we recorded Cool It that day. I wrote and recorded. We sat down, I figured out the lyrics,
You
and
wrote
then we recorded
it
it
and
that.
recorded it in the
Yeah,
same day?
yeah.
Okay.
Um, and it was a lot of fun. At first, I started off with falsetto, and I was like, Kool-Aid, but it just wasn't powerful enough for me, and I was like bored with it. And I'm like, let me just sing it how I want to sing it. And he was like, go ahead.
Okay.
And I just belted it out, and that's how we did it. And that was, gosh, I would assume 2017 or before. I can't tell you the year we recorded it, but I know the album came out in 2018. So we released Cool It in 2018, and nobody cared. for a very long time until we pressed it with Mango Hill. And
Wow.
Joey messages me one day. He says, "Hey, what do you think about pressing for Cool It as a 45?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm totally down. Let's do it." And it gets pressed. It sells out in 2 days.
Yeah.
It was the only 45 on Mango Hill to do that. So yes, thank you. Tips off. But especially with nobody knowing who I am, that 45 sold out really quick, and it was a fun experience. Yeah.
So what's it like hearing it in cars when you're driving by, seeing people at the club spin the record? Like, talk to me about all this because it's got to be a surreal thing to like walk up to a spot or to drive by a whip and you're like, that's me. That's me, y'all.
I haven't heard anybody playing it in their car yet. I know I've yet to experience it. But to be fair, I stay inside most of my time.
Okay. Okay.
But I have had friends send me, hey, there's a DJ playing your song right now. They'll send me a video, show me the crowd. And yeah, I mean, it's surreal. It's like, I'm just happy that people like it and, even want to hear more.
Yeah. Yeah. Really crazy that that was recorded so long. I mean, I'm always fascinated by music that's recorded and maybe it kind of sits for a little bit and then years later. But again, this goes back to the whole point that I think the music is timeless. Like you don't make
Mm-hmm.
microwave music. You make timeless records. And I think that's an art that often gets overlooked with the music that we see today, whether it's on the radio, whether it's on streaming services. So I mean that's just a testament to the work that you do, your ethic, and what you put into the music. Now, my next question, I kind of want you to give us a lens into the songwriting process because you said you wrote and recorded in a day. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of understand, what's going through your head before that pen goes to paper. What inspires you to write, and most importantly, who are you trying to reach through your music?
Mm. Yeah. So when it comes to writing, as far as how I write now, I'm very particular, and I have a way of going about things. But when I wrote that, I mean, you hear the song over and over again. You try to figure out how it makes you feel, and
Mm,
then you through that tell the story that it makes you feel as well.
okay.
Like Cool It is, it's about like an argument between a couple, and you're just like, cool it. Like, I'm trying to make you see, how sweet it is to be.
Yeah.
So I had that in mind, and I mean, I don't know, I just blurted it out, and there it is.
Is it like a feeling for you? Because that I completely understand. I know when I hear something or, people describe these things, it's a feeling you get. Sometimes it's hard to articulate what that feeling is,
Mm-hmm.
but you just have the momentum to go forward.
So I particularly like to ad lib a lot, and I can feel what is falling into place and what is falling off to the sides. And when I get like a set direction, I run with it. Okay, oh, I like this. Oh, I realize I'm saying this. And sometimes when I'm writing the music, I don't even realize like how deep it is until I've completed it. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I needed to get that off my chest,
Mm,
which is something that
really
happens a
interesting.
lot with me.
Yeah. Well, as you started to talk about kind of this whole thing of alter ego, it made me think, who's telling the story? Are these real life experiences, or is this the alter ego and kind of this, I don't want to say storyline, but you can essentially create whatever you want for the narrative. So,
Yeah.
are there times when it's Anna and then other times the alter ego, or where does it come from?
Um, it's all it all resonates with me personally at the end of the day, right? And that's just one person, but
Mhm.
depending on who I'm writing for. So if it's for the 5150s, then it's going to be a little bit edgier. It's going to be more
Okay.
in your face, and I'm going to say things that might hurt your feelings. But if I'm writing for the soldies, it's going to be very sweet, very nurturing. It's going to be very soulful and loving. So it really just depends on who I'm working at, or what I'm working on at the time.
Okay. Okay. So for the next question, you kind of mentioned, I guess, Lauren Hill a little bit in that experience with Heart, but who are the other influences, musically or maybe not musically, that are real drivers for you?
Yeah. I was really big on Etta James.
Okay.
Once I was like 11, I was big on Etta James. Just she's so elegant in the way she sings, but also so bold and so like uh, well, heartfelt. And I can feel that at such a young age. My family must have been sick of me hearing the CD on repeat all the time. But that's what I would do, or that's what I still do. Just listen to the same albums over and over again.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Apart from that, oh, there's Eddie Holman, which I'm not sure if you know Eddie Holman, but his
Girl,
voice, like
are
I
you
said,
kidding me? I might end this interview right now
no, I
asking you who
don't.
Eddie Holman is.
Have you heard of Eddie Holman? No, but that falsetto was so cool to me, and like I said, that was like my voice when I was growing up. So that was something that I was really big on. So vocally, to this day, Eddie Holman is a major influence for me.
Okay. Believe it or not, I was actually talking to him last week. Um, I've been
Tell
trying
us
to
about it.
I've been trying to bring him on a chat, but sometimes it's a little tougher. What about local influences? What about people that maybe you saw before you on the scene? Is there anybody that perhaps maybe kind of gave you some guidance, taught you something, and you've kind of incorporated that into your routine?
Locally. Hmm. That's a good question. I mean, I always look up to my friends, the Sinceres, the Altons.
Yeah.
Um, who else is from LA? I have a lot of friends and a lot of bands. I know a lot of incredibly talented people
Mhm.
from all different sorts of scenes. It's not just this one, and they've all played a part in how I navigate the music scene and, you know, what, I don't know, I guess what I'm doing, I guess. It's all been a major influence. I don't think I can pinpoint anything really.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. For the next question, I wanted to mention a couple song titles, and I'd love for you to maybe share a memory or the first thing that comes to mind, and then we'll go into our show and tell round. Shoop. What's the first thing that
Yeah.
comes to mind when you hear that song title?
Shoop shoop. At the time I was going through a breakup, and so it was just interesting writing a love song when it was the complete opposite of what was going on in my life. But I was writing that for Mango Hill. Um, Along with I Want to Get to Love You. And those were the singles I pitched.
Holy cow.
So it reminds me of that, just kind of like the first time I started really working on my solo music.
Mm. So, because I was gonna say, like, why isn't that pressed on 45 already? And now you're
That was
telling me,
supposed to be pressed on 45. It was supposed to be released via Mango Hill, but there was a lot of stuff that was going on at the time, and it just
yeah,
never panned out. But it's okay.
yeah.
And I eventually released it by myself, and with the help of people like 818 Joker, who asked me for permission to reshare it. Um, People are finding out about me that way, so that's a really great thing for me. Um,
When you say
from that.
you released it, though, you didn't press it on vinyl, did you?
No, I haven't pressed it, but I want to press it, and I plan to. We've had talk about doing it with Mango Hill. I might I might just do it myself. I don't know. Yeah,
I like the solo route. Uh,
yeah,
Cafe Canella recently, they put
hmm
out their debut by themselves, which I thought was like an amazing move. And to me,
yeah,
that's like the essence of like being an indie artist, going through all those motions, getting to wear the different hats and kind of learning from the experience. But I think when you make it to the finish line and you've done it and then it's out in the world, that's got to be like a special feeling.
yeah.
Um, Let's talk about No Appreciation, the cover of Toot Sutton. 66
No
was the year, if I'm not mistaken.
appreciation.
But you
Yeah.
smashed that one,
So
by the way. And
thank
I heard that record.
you.
I heard that record like I want to say maybe a year before it came out. I remember
Mm-hmm.
Noriega streaming it on the computer, and I was like, AMC, when's this dropping?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what comes
dude.
to mind with that one?
With no appreciation. That one just comes to mind as like connections, the people that I've met along the way and the
Mm,
things that I started doing. It's kind of like the evolution of Anna Marie, right? Because it started with Cool It,
yeah,
and then I started networking more, meeting more people, joining
yeah,
other bands, doing other things in the scene. And I feel like that's kind of like one of those little reminders, like, hey, you're doing things, girl. Keep it up.
yeah. Now, the one thing I know about Noriega 45s is that he's very particular about who he's putting to kind of cover a song because they're big records, there's a sound, and I think that, him and Gabe, they really try to keep everything OG within the essence. So
Hmm.
what was it like working with Noriega in the studio to record that cut? And just talk to me about that collaboration process.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and he pitched the song to me. Hey, what do you think of this song? I
Mm,
listened to it. It resonated with me and what I was going through at the time. So I said, yes, I'm
okay.
doing it. Um, and I practiced it for a very long time. The Gabe had already done all of the production, so everything was recorded. All that needed to be done was me come in and record the vocals.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, once I learned the song, I teamed up with Noriega. I met up at the studio out in Rialto, and
Mm,
we were there in the office just recording the vocals.
okay.
And I was a little nervous, if I could be honest. It was different from all the other voices that I've shown people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I was a little intimidated. I was like, I don't know if people are gonna like it, but this is what I feel. And Noriega loves it. We're gonna do this.
I don't think he could have picked somebody else to do it better, if I'm just being honest.
I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you.
Definitely sounded right. For the next one, okay, I'm gonna flash this one real quick because this I felt like we heard about it and then it was gone and it surfaced again. But talk to us about this.
Ooh, the Desires. Yeah, so the Desires is a group that I'm in with my good pal Adrian Carmine. And there's a few other peoples. I think our drummer is in the McCharmleys. We have,
Oh
oh
snap!
gosh, I'm like blanking on people's names. I'm
That's
terrible. I'm
okay.
the
I do it
worst.
all the time.
But there's a lot of really great people in that group. And the Desires, it's two lead singers, so that's fun. Me and Adrian go back and forth on taking lead. And that's the only band that I've ever performed my solo music on. So Shoop Shoop, you can hear with the Desires. I Want to Get to Love You can be heard with the Desires, and also Cool It.
Okay. Okay. Very
Yeah.
Now, like I was talking to you about this before we hopped on the live. I was like, "Yo, you gotta press this one." I couldn't
Hmm.
find the song title, and tell me about that one because I think, listen,
Yeah.
I'm sure people
That's
say this all the time to me, but I always say, I'm like, I think this is your best work to date, but I actually believe it.
yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, and I agree. I do feel like it's my best work, and the reason I feel that is because it's the most true to who I am and my sound, you know, and and I felt so lucky to find a group that was going to embrace that about me and this big, bold, loud loud singer, which again is something that I'm always like a little nervous about. Oh, I don't know if they're gonna like it. Um, but yeah, Searching for Your Love. We released it earlier this summer in July via the Recordium.
Yeah.
We teamed up with the Recordium. Chewy is amazing. If you guys don't know about the Recordium yet, he records local artists
Mm.
and he does like this amazing recording of them, like video and audio, and he releases it and he has a platform and it's just amazing what he's got going on YouTube.
What inspired you to write that song?
Searching for Your Love. So
Yeah.
the song title was actually already uh, tied to the song. Um, One day, my friend Joey, hit me up and said, "Hey, sorry,
No, I love it. I love it.
um, I know this band that I think you'd be really good for. They're called the Soldies, and you know." I think you should, try out for them. So that was on a Tuesday. I said, hell yeah, let's go. By Tuesday, we had plans to meet up on Thursday. So the entire time, I'm like waiting for him to send me the song. He's going to send me Searching for Your Love. That's all they have, the bones to Searching for Your Love.
Okay.
And the night before I'm supposed to meet them, because I didn't get it until the next day, Wednesday,
Right.
I heard the song and I loved it. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I sat down that night and I wrote Searching for Your Love before I met them. And the next day, I showed up to their rehearsal. I said, hey, I have this little idea. Let me know what you guys
Little
think.
idea. It's a hit record. That's not a little idea.
Yeah. um, yeah, and it was based off of, their song title, Searching for Your Love. I just ran with that and it's very personal to me, and I was able to like say what I needed to say. It was
Girl,
just
you said
perfect.
enough within
Everything
like the
fell
first
into
10
place.
seconds.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and we're just so excited about that one too.
press it already. Press it. I want to break it. So I guess what I want to say is because I that was where I see you with the visual first. Usually I'm getting the audio, especially if it's like something that's being released. Do you like performing like on camera in front of people, or do you prefer to be kind of in that creative space in the studio? Which moves you more and why?
Well, I enjoy both a lot. But of course, I'm always going to choose the enclosed space, private, just very personal setting when it comes to working on music.
Okay.
But I'm happy to go on stage and have fun with it too, because I absolutely love showcasing it.
You do.
So it's really the best of both worlds.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Um, Before we do show and tell, I just want to kind of continue the question. So you mentioned how you connected with these Soldies, but talk to us about the members of the group. Give us a lens into kind of like your vision, your mission, and what you hope to achieve, whether it's through the rest of the year or even next year.
Yeah. So there's seven of us. We start with German, who is the co-founder with Alan. So German plays guitar, Alan plays the keys, Brian is the bass, and Tony is the drummer. And they are the roots. I say that they're the core four.
What's Tony's last
Because
name?
Tony Garcia.
Okay, maybe it's Tony Teclado. I don't know. I don't know.
No. But I went to middle school with Tony, but we played a show with him just the other day. Love that guy.
Crazy. So
Yeah, so go
so
on.
that's the band right
Sorry.
there, and like
Oh,
how does
I'm so
everything come
sorry.
together? What?
I'm so sorry. And you have to also mention Mila on the sax, Jacob on the sax, and we have
Okay.
Gio on the trumpet. So that makes eight. But
Eight.
we have the two sax players.
Okay. Okay. But how does the energy like fuse together? How do y'all kind of find your groove, and like when does it really feel like you're firing on all cylinders as like a unit, like a cohesive group?
Yeah, I mean, so it starts. The foundation would be German brings in the guitar parts. He shows it to the guys. The guys come together and do amazing things. And then they show it to me, and I record it with my little task cam, and I go home and I obsess over and over listening to it, and then I figure out again, how it makes me feel, what it makes me want to say, and then I write that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and the songs are so good. Incredibly talented
All of them.
musicians.
All
Yeah,
of them.
absolutely.
Everything that you've shared is kind of like, oh my gosh, like where y'all been? Um, what about the origination of the name, the Soldies? Did you inquire about that? Did you run with it? Like why is that the name of the band? What inspired
That's
it?
a good question. I've actually never asked German. German, if you're still on, tell us in the comments where did the Soldies come from? The Soldies. I think it's really interesting. With a name like the Soldies, you would think that we're a cover band. We're not.
Yeah.
We don't do any covers. I don't know, but it just kind of fits. It's perfect for us. Yeah, I don't know where it came from, but that's who we are. That's us.
I love it. I love it. Um, let's go ahead and transition to show and tell. This is kind of like a legendary epic state, time when guests come and they show their prized possessions. It's an opportunity for us to kind of get to know you outside the space of being a musician. So what do you have for us?
All right. Yes. Well, the first thing that I brought was the most slept on record in 2017, Barrio Joyride.
I love
So
that
this was
album cover.
released. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think it was one of our buddies, Edgar Fernandez, did the album art for this. Incredibly talented guy. He was in the indie scene, drummer. So fantastic. And yeah, this entire album for me kind of just it's like a piece of my childhood in a way, right? Because when I met Joe, the one thing that we bonded on was that our dads liked the same music, right? We both liked War, we both liked El Chicano. Like that was something that was like something that drawed me to him. And this entire album is just Chicano gold, really. And if you haven't heard it yet, you need to hear it. Stop sleeping on Barrio Joyride because this is right here. If you don't know by now, later on in life, this is going to be out there in the world, and everybody's going to love it eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then apart from that, I brought this album. I'm telling you,
That's the
Eddie
one
Holman, I love
right
you.
there.
That's the album, right? This one
That's
right
the
here
one.
is the staple of my childhood. I remember, growing up in East LA, and the energy was, "Hey there, lonely girl," everywhere. And if I could, it's very nostalgic for me. It takes me back to like really, really vivid memories, being very small, just in different places. I don't know. It takes me back. That's for sure. And it's the best album. I still listen to it to this day.
Classic. Now,
Yeah.
I got to ask this question because you flashed two pieces of vinyl so far. Are you a record collector?
I well, I wouldn't say collector, but I absolutely love vinyl. I know I'm not that crazy vinyl collector that's like spending a lot of money and looking for rare stuff. Um, I personally collect movie scores, horror movie scores, so on
Really?
vinyl. Yeah, which is a lot of fun,
Okay.
and something that I'm actually just barely getting into. Um, and then apart from that, like my sister-in-law, her partner is a DJ and they're having a baby. And so he is getting rid of all of these records, and I always take records off of his hands. So he's given me like the most amazing collection.
That's super cool. Now, how did you get into like horror scores?
Oh, yeah. Well, in general, I love movie scores, right? And I love classical music, and um, movies have the best music, right? And I particularly love horror movies. So I just wanted to start collecting horror on vinyl.
Have you seen? I think it's like Mondo Records. Have you seen their catalog of like? Because they like redo
Hmm.
scores from the past, and I know they've done a lot of horror ones, but I mean, beautiful gatefold notes on the movie, colored vinyl. What was the first one that you bought, if you don't mind me asking, or acquired?
Um, yeah, I have this Scream soundtrack on vinyl. So that would be the first one. And then there's like the Exorcist movie score on vinyl. Amazing. I'm still trying to find the Jason Voorhees. It's like this clear vinyl, but it has like blood, and when it's spinning, it just like moves around like a lava lamp.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. So you're
Yeah,
not just
it's
looking
so
for any
hard
kind
to
of record.
find.
And you said that you weren't looking for the
I,
pricey rare
I
ones.
know, I know. Yeah,
That
yeah.
record, I remember when they like unboxed it or had shown it for the first time because those records are thick. There's
Hmm.
legitimately like liquid in there. They probably took a blood sample from him and put a little bit in each one. I'm
Yeah,
kidding,
dude.
but those are really hard to come by.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they're really hard to find. And they're very expensive. So, maybe like a couple of records a year, nothing really crazy. I don't make very much money doing what I do. So, I'm not out here spending a lot of money on vinyl.
sure, sure, sure. No, but I appreciate you sharing those records and giving us a lens in. I think that Barrio Joyride album is something that like and maybe I'm wrong when I say this, but I like found Joey and everything else. And then as I was doing my deep dive, then I'm like, yo, what's this? It was probably my friend that was like, yo, did you see this record that Joey put out? I'm like, what, another record? So that was
Another
cool that
one?
you shared that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so one question that I like to ask everybody, and it's one of the last questions, is there a quote or mantra that you keep close to heart and kind of think of, whether good or bad times? And if you do, would you be willing to share it with us?
Yeah, I wouldn't say something I think of when it comes to good or bad times, but I do really love just the simple, keep it simple. That's it, right? I have like a little picture next to my piano where I'm writing. It says keep it simple, and it's just a little reminder, never to overthink, when I'm writing music, to just kind of let it flow, be myself, keep it simple.
I like
So
that.
that's something that I absolutely love, and yeah.
Okay. Before we go, let us know how we can stay looped in to everything Anna Marie Castro. Let us know if there's shows, anything that's going on with these soldies that we can tune into.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a show on Saturday, November 2nd at the Brew Yard in Glendale, The Soldies, at 7 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, 7 p.m. Um, we have another song dropping with the Recordium, our third and final release song we did called 62. So These Soldies is mainly what I got going on right now. Apart from that, when Joey comes back from tour, we have plans to work on two of my solo songs. So I'll be doing that, if not, what next, at the beginning of next year. And then, of course, the Soldies, we want to record with him too. So I'm going to try and do my best to make that happen. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds
Um,
exciting. It sounds like you're busy. What does 62 mean, though? Give us a.
62, honestly, it's the BPM. It's the BPM of the song. But yeah, I listened to the song and it just, we say jokes like, oh, it means 1962. But it's really just the BPM.
So
And
here's
I
why I'm
never, we
smiling.
never changed it.
So Rudy De Anda, he just dropped a 45, and the B side is called 83.
Hmm.
And I was like, yo, Rudy, give me the scoop, brother. What's 83? And it was like the I think it was like the number note in his like notepad. It was like 83, and so yeah, 62 the BPM. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. I want to thank you so much for coming through, Anna Marie Castro. It's been really nice to learn of your music over the years, to be able to follow you, and I really appreciated getting an opportunity to meet you in person when I was in California.
Yeah.
I'll continue to keep rooting for you. You know where to find me if there's anything I can do to help. But I'll give you the space to say some last minute words to those that stayed on the line for all 47 minutes.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow the Soldies. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the platforms. Yes. Oh my gosh. If you don't have my record yet, go. Oh, that's Noriega said. Go out and you can purchase this actually from noriega.com, or you can hit me up and I'll sell it to you myself. Cool it. You snooze on this one, man. This one's sold out. We are talking about repressing it. We'll see what happens with that.
Ooh,
And yeah, no, I think that's totally it. Stick around for the Soldies, guys. We got a lot going on
I love that.
next year.
I love that. Anna, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. We're going to have the opportunity to stream this back afterwards. Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. We're out of here. Take care, everybody.
Thank you guys so much. Good night.